Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 702nd edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. I'm your host, Daniel Feuerstein. I'll give you American perspective of our clubs, leagues, players, national team, and other fabulous moments. Get your daily reading from me and other writers over at Beyond the 90, at beyondthe90.substack.com, and locally over at baddogsports.com. Chat room on YouTube is open. Come on in, discuss amongst yourselves if you like. If you have a question for me, I'll try to answer to the best of my abilities. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and for this show to get your daily American soccer content, anything and everything. We're not just Major League Soccer, we're the USL, we're the NPSL, the NISA, and all the American leagues that you want on soccer content. Of course, sooner rather than later, we will be talking about those U.S. Open Cup amateur teams, those amateur teams who've qualified for the 2026 U.S. Open Cup. But was it written in the stars? Was it actually going to happen? Were we going to have Lionel Messi and Inter Miami versus Thomas Mueller and the Vancouver Whitecaps? The way that these two clubs have gone towards the back end of this season has just been nothing short but miraculous. It was an unbelievable road to this MLS Cup Championship final that will be at Chase Stadium, currently in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for Inter Miami. It'll be this coming Saturday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see it live either on Apple TV streaming, or which we know it will be seen in the United States on Fox Sports. Let me just say that this was something I don't think anybody ever thought was going to be possible. I don't think we were expecting anything like this to happen. I really don't. I don't believe it would ever happen. I don't believe we were going to have this final, because we didn't think Miami might make it past the first round. And even though the Vancouver Whitecaps had a great start to this season under Jesper Sorensen, the question that everyone had was, would they maintain it? And at times, it looked like they might have not maintained it. They might have fallen off. But once they brought in Thomas Mueller from Bayern Munich, everything just changed. Everything in Vancouver changed. The Whitecaps have been tremendous. And they have been something special, something wonderful. And so all you can really say is we're going to get ourselves something wonderful here in this final. Now, the one thing that I think is also different with Inter Miami is that we're not seeing Luis Suarez starting these games. He's been on the bench, and he's being used as a substitute. So right away, it's really interesting to see what these teams are going to go through and how they're going to do it. And it's really been nothing short but miraculous. So all you can really do is just sit back, relax, and watch what's happening out there. Without a doubt, this entire situation has been nothing short but fantastic. And even though it's going to be labeled as Messi versus Mueller, I like what Thomas Mueller said after the post-match interview out on the pitch to Jillian Sakovits. He said it's not one man, it's an entire team. That's what we're going to see with Vancouver, one entire team. Let me do this right now for everyone real quick. I want to get it out of the way. Let's go ahead, because let me tell you about this segment's sponsor, Dino Luzzi Energy Drink. When I need that extra kick to power through match analysis and late night transfer rumors, there's only one drink that delivers authentic Italian energy. Dino Luzzi, crafted in Italy with the same passion I bring to this show, because real energy comes from real ingredients, just like real soccer talk comes from real insiders. We're going to go ahead and talk about it right now. This is a recorded interview I had from Futbol Miami TV's Pieter Brown, talking about the Eastern Conference Final as Inter Miami destroyed New York City FC by a final of 5-1. And here is that interview right now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the American Soccer Show, as we're going to review once again the 2025 MLS Cup Playoffs, the Eastern Conference Final, Inter Miami hosting New York City FC, and it was a basher, a smasher, and a destruction. Joining me right now from Futbol Miami TV, the one and only Pieter Brown, as Inter Miami will host the Vancouver Whitecaps in the 2025 MLS Cup Final. Pieter, I have to say, that was a clinic by Inter Miami. They just put their foot on the gas pedal, and they never relented at all. It was a masterclass.
It was really amazing. Last time I was on with you, I was pretty cocky and a little, pretty confident that we would win, but there's always that little bit of unsureness, and that because it's sports, anything can happen. But it went exactly as planned. And what was great about it, I think the biggest thing about that night was that Messi was kind of quiet that night. And that's actually a good thing, because the team was able to figure out how to win. Not saying without Messi, because he still draws attention, which then opens up other guys. So he's still playing a part, but he's not doing his Messi magic like he normally does, like we expect. And other guys were able to step up. It was, Tadeo Allende right now, is on fire. So it was super exciting. Although I will say, after the first half, it was 2-1. I was not feeling confident yet, because it was still, that 2-1 score is dangerous. So anything can happen. New York is a good team. But once goal number 3 went in, it was pretty much over.
It really, really was. I have to say, watching this match, and especially, like you said, Messi wasn't too involved in this, but I don't think in this age of his career, he doesn't have to be the dominant force he used to be back in Barcelona. He can just, not in a certain way, ghost NYCFC, but, he can still be there, but he'll let everyone else do the running while he just orchestrates from a certain position on the pitch, and then he just feeds them the ball, or lets them feed the ball to themselves, and then bang, it's in the back of the net.
Sure, but even by those standards, he was a little quiet. So, he's been doing that the last couple games, with Suarez being out. He's playing that false 9. He's sitting back a little bit further and definitely distributing. He's got the vision to release Allende or Silvetti on a quick run. These guys are young and they're fast. And he's done that in previous games. I forget exactly what the stats are, but he scored a bunch of goals in this playoffs, a lot of assists. He's been involved in pretty much everything. And so, for him to come out of a game where it's 5-1 and he only has 1 assist, now that's a luxury. That's a great problem to have. But like I said, in a sense, I think it was great, because it just shows the other players, not saying that they don't need him, but that they can step up and do their part on a night that maybe Messi was being marked a little bit. Maybe it just wasn't feeling it. I don't know. But he was still magical, but it just wasn't what we come to expect from him. The joke going around the stadium is that he was saving it up for this coming Saturday.
It's true, because it's going to be another big matchup to get that elusive MLS Cup championship. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened here. And before we even get to the goals by Toledo Allende, I didn't think I was going to see that in the 20th minute. Maxi Morales having a jaw fest with Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
And I was thinking to myself, is this Argentine on Argentine crime here all of a sudden? I mean, you're seeing one of the greatest Argentine players in the world, and one of the greatest footballers in all the world having a jaw session with Maxi Morales. I mean, I swear to God, I thought we are going to see red cards flying. I thought we are going to get, handbags at 5 paces. I really thought we are going to have something going down at Chase Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Messi didn't back down, and he was in Maxi's face, and Maxi didn't back down either. And why should he? He should stand up, even though, Messi could be an idol of some sort, right? But in that moment, who cares? So that Maxi Morales did what he should be doing, stand up to him. But I mean, Messi was in his face, just John and John. I'm dying to know what he's saying, right? What is Messi trash talking like? What is he saying to him? But in that fracas was also, it did get Marcelo Weigand, as you show on your screen, in the same minute got a yellow card because he came out of nowhere. He wasn't involved in this in any way, but Weigand is a guy that's always ready to throw fists. I mean, there's been a couple of situations, a couple of shots that the photographers have gotten of him this year where his, Dukes are up. He's ready to go. He's like a little brawler out there, something that he had nothing to do with, and he just flies in out of nowhere and gets a stupid yellow. But it added a little bit of drama, a little bit of excitement to the game. And it also shows that even though Messi was not having his level of game, he was a little quiet. I won't say it's a bad game. He was a little quiet. He was definitely engaged. I mean, he was into it. He's getting in Maxi's face and like at one point it looked like to me that Maxi Morales is trying to walk away a little bit and Messi's just going at him, just continuing. And he could be a little bit of a dog like that and maybe abuse his power a little bit sometimes, but it's part of the game.
It really is. And once again, look, I'm not hoping for any fisticuffs, but still, though, you never know in this game. One wrong word and it's all over. So
we've had some fisticuffs this year, and I on my show, I kind of caught a little, hell for, being okay with it. And sure. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is entertainment. And
yes.
Are you not entertained? Right?
Absolutely. I was entertained. All right. It was amazing to watch and see what was going to happen. Bit of a bated breath moment too, but
sure.
At least 2 yellow cards, one each side during the 20th minute, and nothing else, no worse for wear. And thank God for that, in my opinion. Though that's how I feel. But talking about Taladeo Allende, many people thought he was going to excel when he came over to Inter Miami. I think he's been a little bit of a hit or miss, but I think in recent games, including the playoffs, he has been fantastic. And to see him get that hat trick was just tremendous. I really thought it was his best match as a whole for Inter Miami in this one.
Absolutely. And it could have had 4 goals because there was a header that he missed. So, and that miss that he had is really the story of Allende this year. He came into the team, and for the first handful of games, first few games, he looked great. He looked like, okay, this kid's going to be good, and then dipped, and still was like, I think, second in goals for the team. So even though he dipped, he still got his goals, not as many as he should have. That was the frustrating thing with him, is that he left so many goals on the table. There's so many opportunities fast. He gets into great locations. He's crafty and all that kind of stuff, but he couldn't finish, not at least as much as he should. There were so many just, right there on a platter for him to just tap in, and he would just kind of mess it up. Something happened here at the tail end of the regular season and into the playoffs. I don't know exactly what it is. Obviously, in the last couple of games with Suarez being out, him and Silvetti both have really had that opportunity to be the goal scorer and get the attention and they play a little bit differently with those guys who are in there. But that's just the last few games. The entire playoffs, he has really been a very different player. Don't know exactly, what lit that fire underneath him, but something happened. And now, he's on loan, and it's a 1-year deal. So right now, word is they're looking into finding ways to sign him. But he's on loan, and we're still paying him $1 million. So I would imagine you buy a player like that, and that's going to have to be like, I don't know, DP, and I don't know if he's DP worthy, even though he's very good. I would give him like a high TAM deal maybe, but we'll see how that works out. But I know the rumors are they're trying to negotiate early to get him to come back. Because earlier in the season, we would have said $1 million. We were saying this a lot. $1 million is too much. He's not earning it. Let him go. But now he's kind of rebounded.
And once again, you said once the third goal came in the second half, in the 67th minute by Matteo Silvetti, it's basically lights out and full control. How much was the stadium that release valve when that third goal went in? You could feel it in the stadium, couldn't you?
Yeah, I haven't had that much fun at Chase Stadium maybe ever. It was so electric in the stadium. I mean, it was great. I mean, I've been to every game. I might have missed 2 games in the entire history of Inter Miami. It had to be right up there, even for little stupid things of them passing out these little pink towels that they passed out, everybody waving them. It just added to the atmosphere, right? And it was raucous. It was amazing in there. Every movement, the crowd is up on their feet. They were so invested. And what we're used to seeing too, unfortunately, is the west side. So I sit on the east, so I'm looking at the west. And generally speaking, those are the expensive seats. And you see quite often a lot of empty seats. It's South Florida. People buy tickets. Companies buy those tickets. They don't go, unfortunately. That was not the case on this game. Everybody was into it. And the stadium it just gave you like goosebumps being there. It was amazing.
It really, really was. Then Telesco Segovia made it 4-1. And once again, Allende with a hat trick made it 5-1. And for the first time ever for the club, this will be the second final this season that they'll make, third altogether. Of course, the Leagues Cup, actually fourth final, the Leagues Cup final that they won in 2023. The Open Cup final that they hosted, lost to Houston Dynamo. You were back in the Leagues Cup final this year. In Seattle, lost to the Sounders, and now a fourth final, second in the same year, that you'll be taking on the Vancouver Whitecaps. This is, depending on what happens here, and depending on what Mascherano has learned from the last time he faced the Vancouver Whitecaps in the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinals, the 2 legs, though, this is only 1 leg. What do you think Mascherano will do against the Vancouver Whitecaps side, not only that has the talented Thomas Müller of Bayern Munich fame, but Jesper Sorensen has them running like a well-oiled machine. It was 2 tough legs, 1 in Vancouver, 1 at Chase Stadium. This is all at Chase now. What do you think Miami needs to do to win? But at the same time, what are you fearful of against the Whitecaps?
So I think nothing changes. I think he's going to roll out what's worked, and he's going to continue. Obviously, maybe there's some little bit of man-to-man marking or different for different players or what have you. But I think really you're rolling out what was successful, and you're not changing anything. And it's been working. And I would expect it to work again. Not saying that Vancouver is going to be an easy team to beat. It's going to be hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put a couple of goals in the net. I wouldn't be shocked to see like a 3-2, 4-2, something like that. I'm hopeful that Inter Miami wins that one. But our defense is what you got to be scared of. It's always our weakest point. They've been better with Suarez on the bench. You've got. I mean, look, Allende and Silvetti, they track back. They defend. These guys are young, and they can run all game, and they will defend, whereas Suarez can't. And Messi obviously doesn't either. But even Messi's gotten a little into the defending a little bit. So it's always the defense that really scares us. Also, we do have a couple of hotheads in the team. Weigand, like if he gets into the game, I'm not sure if he plays or if it's Frey that plays. Frey's had a little bit of an injury, so I'm not sure who plays there. But Weigand is obviously, like we talked about earlier, a fighter, a little bit of a loose cannon at times. And then Falcone as well. He is pretty good at getting under the skin of other players, and sometimes he gets caught and with getting a yellow or potentially a red. So those kind of defensive lapses is really what I'm worried about. The slowness of Busquets. He's great vision and making those passes, but quite often now later in the season and later in the game, they'll put him back as a center defender, and they'll bring in Bright to later in the game for his position. And like Busquets is a great player, but he's slow and he can read the game, but you can also beat him. So there's definitely just some defensive. Brian White, I think, has lit us up in the past. So definitely concerned about him. And Vancouver's a different team since they were good in the beginning of the season, and then they kind of had a little bit of a lull. Then they get Mueller. They're back to being great again. So, Mueller obviously is going to be someone, but it sounds like by, listening to the games and stuff that Mueller might have a little bit of a nagging injury. Not saying I'm wishing an injury on anybody, but, if he's nursing a little minor injury or something that only can benefit Inter Miami. But those guys are definitely Brian White. I'm very concerned about.
No, absolutely. Brian White, a real danger man for Vancouver. Mueller gives you that extra oomph on that team.
Yeah.
And everyone's been begging for this, actually, ever since Thomas Mueller's come over. And we're watching to see what Vancouver was going to do. And now we're going to have a Lionel Messi versus Thomas Mueller final that, no one thought would ever happen. And we're hoping would happen, and now it's here in a couple of days, within 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, it doesn't feel real. As we're walking out of the stadium on Saturday, it was like, man, it just doesn't feel real that we're going to be hosting the MLS Cup final here. It just doesn't seem real. It's amazing, especially of being longtime South Florida soccer fans that we, me and Uncle Ed are. Being fans of the Fort Lauderdale Strikers and the Miami Fusion and Miami FC and every incarnation along the way. It just feels like rewarding. It feels like we're destined to win this. Now, of course, if we don't, we're going to be crushed. But it just feels unreal that we're in this position. And this is like my little bit. This is like my World Cup. Like I'm more club. I'm club over country. I prefer. I'm more invested in my club, and so this is just amazing experience. And luckily, thank you for that I was able to get tickets today. I will be there.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. You can always check if you're an Inter Miami supporter. Go to Futbol Miami TV with Pieter Brown and Uncle Ed. They'll give you everything you need, anything and everything Inter Miami from top to bottom. Pieter, I always appreciate your time. Good luck this upcoming weekend at 2:30 Eastern. 11:30 a.m. Pacific, Apple TV, also Fox Sports. They'll have the match ready to go and ready to have some fun. Thanks again for always coming on, and hope to get you again after the final, win or lose.
Sounds good. Anytime, Daniel. It's a lot of fun.
And that was Pieter Brown from Futbol Miami TV. He could not join us live tonight. Had an engagement to get to. So I was glad to record that interview with him to talk about the Inter Miami side as they won the Eastern Conference Championship against New York City FC once again by a final score of 5-1. Now, as we were trying to say here, this final is going to be epic. It really is. Because if you really think about it, the last time these two sides met in a very important match was a two-legged affair earlier this season during the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Vancouver shut out Inter Miami at BC Place in the first leg. I think it was like 2-0, 3-0. And then The second leg came to Miami, South Florida, South Beach. And Inter Miami got an early goal in the second leg of the semifinal. Cut the deficit to 2-1. Now, you have to also understand that Miami did not have an away goal in Vancouver. They did not. And then on aggregate, it was 2-1 Vancouver. Miami was threatening. And then all of a sudden, Vancouver started to roll out the goals. And they scored 3 goals. 3 goals in the second half of the second leg in the semifinals. That became 3-1 on aggregate with an away goal. It became 4-1 on aggregate with a second away goal. It became 5-1 on aggregate and a third away goal. Basically, Vancouver took care of business. And what we can say here is this. Vancouver found a way to stymie Inter Miami after they scored that goal at home. Because all of the yelling and the screaming died out at Chase Stadium. Miami was in deep trouble. And then at the end of the game, they were done for. All over. Finished. And even though Vancouver did go to the final and unfortunately lost to Cruz Azul in the championship final for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, you wonder now, is that semifinal in the Champions Cup stuck in the craw of Inter Miami and their head coach Javier Mascherano? That is what we need to see. And that is what everyone in Miami needs to see with this team. Because they ran the gauntlet through the Eastern Conference and took care of their opponents. They took care of who was in front of them and took them out. And now they're in the MLS Cup final for the very first time. They have been to a Leagues Cup final twice, and they're 1-2. They went to a U.S. Open Cup final, lost that. Now they are in an MLS Cup final for the very first time. Just like the Vancouver Whitecaps, they are in the MLS Cup final for the very first time. They are the second Canadian team to be in the MLS Cup final. Obviously, we all know Toronto FC was the first. Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, now representing Canadian soccer, went to the CONCACAF Champions Cup finals, or at the time, Champions League finals, and unfortunately fell to Mexican opponents. Whether it be Guadalajara, whether it be Club America, now Cruz Azul, it does not matter. It all came together, and unfortunately for Canadian soccer on the international clubs situation, 0-3. But once again, this is going to be a very hotly contested matchup. Now the stakes are higher, the stars are brighter, and now we're going to see what will happen here. We will see what Vancouver is going to do with Thomas Mueller now on the club. We will see what Inter Miami will do now they've made some changes to their structure and to their starting 11. This will be interesting to watch, and this will be a lot of fun. And speaking about a lot of fun, joining me right now, he does cover the Vancouver Whitecaps for Away from the Numbers up in Vancouver, British Columbia. It is once again Michael McColl. Michael, welcome back. Congratulations, Western Conference champions. I have to tell you, I shouldn't say I was shocked, but I was a bit surprised on how Vancouver got this victory and how they're able to keep San Diego FC away from the danger moments of this match.
Never in doubt, Daniel. No, I mean, I think everyone thought it was going to be a close game and it was probably going to be a one-goal game that was going to decide it. But the Whitecaps went to San Diego. They went with a game plan. They executed it perfectly, and they did not allow San Diego to get a chance to be in the game, really. And it wasn't done and dusted at 2-0 because the next goal was massive. But as soon as it went to 3-0, you could relax a little bit. It was a dominant performance, and it was a tactical masterclass once again by Jesper Sorensen.
It really was. You know, I was with you and the Canadian media, mostly from Vancouver, obviously, but I was with the Canadian media with you at Chase Stadium for the second leg of the Champions Cup semifinals. Sorensen, to me, just like what Jesse Marsch has done for the Canadian men's national team after taking over for John Herdman, to me, Jesper Sorensen taking over for Vartini, I think he finally brought some structure into the Whitecaps, and they have been rolling ever since. There's been a lull here and there in the middle of the season, but there's no way Sorensen was going to allow the Whitecaps to fall apart from the start to the end.
Yeah, I was speaking to him at Whitecaps training today, and one of the questions I put to him was, "You're so calm in the dugout," and I said, "I think that calmness also then goes onto the pitch, onto the players, and that's what he's brought." So he's come in, he's instilled a belief, he's instilled a confidence that was there, but he's just elevated it. But what he's done different from Vanni Sartini, and all props to Vanni Sartini, because it's the base that Vanni has created that Jesper's come in and polished it and improved. So let's say that right away. This is no diss on Vanni, but Jesper's answer to that question was, there's no point me being frantic on the sidelines. I'm paraphrasing a little. There's no point me being frantic on the sidelines, because the players need that leadership. They need the calmness, because it's already on the pitch. It's not calm. So they now want to see somebody on the sideline that's directing and leading. And that's what Thomas Muller also now brings on the pitch. But Jesper Sorensen's got a tactical, like, his football IQ is huge. He's got a different tactical way of looking at things than Vanni did, from the defence all the way to the top. And it's just reaped dividends this season. He's got them all to buy into it very early. We've spoken before on the show about the fact that they had all those injuries early on meant everyone got to play early. They all got to learn the system. They all got to know their role. And when called upon, any one of them can come in and cover multiple positions, as we saw on the back line on Saturday in San Diego.
Exactly. And that was just fantastic. And, you know, just to bring it up, and I have to say, getting back Brian White, I know it's been a while because he was hurt for a while, but what a performance from him in the first half. I mean, on point, timely goals. It was unbelievable what he was able to do, not only early in the first half, but in first half stoppage time, to really cement this victory. And even though, fine, San Diego pulled one back, there was really nothing more they can do. I mean, they were stymied the entire second half.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Brian White, he only had 2 shots on target, and they both ended up in the back of the net. So that's what you want from your striker, to be clinical when the chances come, if they're not going to be coming to him in big numbers. The thing is, coming back in that LAFC game, he wasn't 100% match fit. And it's taken a little bit of time. I'm not saying he's still up to the levels that he was, but he's definitely good to go. And that's something else that the Whitecaps talked about at training today. The belief in the team is this extra couple of weeks now that they've had in the playoffs, everyone is at the levels that they need to be, and that includes Brian White. And he's the kind of striker, yeah, he'll miss a couple of chances he should have put away. But what we love about the fact that he got these 2 goals is all his Whitecaps career, he's been streaky. So if he gets on a run of a couple of goals, he gets a couple of games where he gets goals. Now, going into a big final, that's what you want. And Brian White is a guy that if he gets an opportunity in the 6-yard box, I'd say 9 times out of 10, he puts it away.
It really does. And let's also not forget, Sebastian Berhalter has also been a rock in the midfield, not just on the attack, during set pieces. I mean, he's really come into his own. He's been fantastic for Vancouver, and he's delivering balls all over the place, setting up chances, making his own chances. He's really improved a lot under Sorensen.
I mean, he has. He's improved season upon season that he's been here. And if anyone's seen the documentary, the great documentary that was done on him this year, it's on the Whitecaps YouTube channel if you haven't. He spoke about when he was at Austin, he looked around and he's like, you know what? I might be the worst player here. And he had a tough time of it there. And he thought about even giving the game up. And it's always tough when you're the son as well of a guy that's played at the top level. And I know most of your listeners will have their views on what Greg Berhalter brought to the US national team, but there's no denying he's been a great servant to his country at club level as well, and coach, player, and that's a pressure on a young guy. So coming to Canada was probably the best thing for Seba, because he's in a country that genuinely doesn't really care about his dad too much as to what he's done, whether he was the US men's national team coach or not. They just care about him as a player. And he's coming to his own this year. And he's like, Sorensen's brought him to another level. It's been on the cards, but this has been his breakout season. Whether the Whitecaps can now keep hold of him is the question going forward. But he's a great guy off the pitch as well. And if you watch him as well, he is so fired up on the pitch, but in a controlled way, not in that, oh, there's a red card waiting to happen. When Cisniega got sent off, he was like fist pumping because he knew that was the game there and then. At 3-1, 11v11, San Diego get a goal with 10 minutes to go. It's backs to the wall. It's all hands on deck. 3-1 with a sending off. Yeah, it's done there. He knew it. He knew he was going to a cup final.
Now, let's talk about that second goal for Vancouver, because that was a strange set of circumstances that I never thought I was going to see. First of all, I don't know how that ball went in. I don't know who it deflected off of, but at the end of the day, it went off of Cisniega for the own goal. And that was just a crazy, wacky situation where all of a sudden I thought San Diego FC was going to clear it out, but the defender hits it off the back of his own goalkeeper, and it goes right between the defenders who are like Keystone Coppers, and it just rolled right in. I was like, are you kidding me? 3 minutes later, and that happens? I couldn't believe what I was watching.
I mean, I still feel it's harsh to give Cisniega the own goal, because I think the defender on the line deserves the own goal, because he tries to clear it as it comes back, and he makes contact for me, and it hits off him and goes in. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's an own goal one way or the other. You've got to talk, though, about Emmanuel Sabi on that play. The little 1-2 that he had with Thomas Mueller. But it's not even just that. When he gets the return pass, he has this sublime touch to the outside that gives him space to get the shot off. And then it falls, and Mueller could have hit it. Ahmed could have hit it. Mueller leaves it to Ahmed. He gets it on goal. And at first I was like, oh, I can't believe it's been blocked. But then it was just comical from a San Diego point of view. Harsh for them because they didn't know what had hit them by that point. And this is what I was talking about last week. It's a young backline. It's an inexperienced backline. And I felt if the Whitecaps could put them under pressure early, it's a big occasion. And I asked Thomas Mueller about this, and he's like, it's a good narrative, but you don't know how it's going to play out until it happens. Well, I think we saw how it played out because they had no answer to the burst that the Whitecaps had in the opening 15 minutes. And then when you're a young team and you've gone behind like that, it was shell-shocked. It also kind of seemed to suck the life out of the stadium a little bit as well. And they did get back into it, but it was a controlled first half performance. And this time, unlike the LA game the week before, they followed what they needed to do game plan wise in the second half, and then it was fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Once again, you're facing Inter Miami in the final. Do you feel this is a different Inter Miami team than the one the Vancouver Whitecaps met during the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinals? Because, it
totally is. It's that team. Well, I'm using inverted commas here for team because I didn't feel in that matchup Vancouver Whitecaps were a team and Miami looked like talented individuals. Now, whatever it is that's clicked, they now look like a team and they look like a very impressive team. And yet it's terrifying, that attack that they've got. So it's a much different Miami side in that regard. The players that's come in and the tweaks that Mascherano has made means it's not as reliant on Messi. And you can't double mark Messi, just like if you double mark Mueller with the Whitecaps, because you're going to be leaving some fast guys out wide, probably with some space. So both teams have that going for them. But this is also a different Whitecaps side. We don't have Pedro Vite. We're not going down to Miami with a 2-goal advantage. So I fully expect them to come at Miami like they did in San Diego. And that Miami defense, for me, hasn't really changed. That is still a defense that if you pressurize them, and you saw it with NYC, when they got that goal, up until the third Miami goal, I would have put money on NYC getting the equalizer because they were turning the heat up, they were turning the pressure up, and that Miami defense is suspect. And I think the Whitecaps have the ability to punish that. They also will not leave as much space as Cincinnati did, as NYC did. And you've got, of course, the kryptonite of Kubas, who has had Messi in his pocket in the last 2 games. And while playing for Paraguay, he's handled Messi very, very well.
Yeah, he really has. And like I said, I was telling the audience I was with you and the rest of the Canadian media covering that second leg at Chase Stadium. That was just an amazing second half. Because even though Miami got the early goal in the first half, and they were trying to get the second one to level the aggregate, you could tell that Sorensen, he kind of rallied the troops a little bit while the match was going on. Like, they calmed down. They started to become more methodical, more defensive. And then when they got into halftime, I guess that's when the adjustments came in, and they scored 3 big goals. One of them, of course, lucky deflection, obviously. But you can tell that they were more, I wouldn't say businesslike, but more on point with how they wanted to attack Miami, how they wanted to defend against Miami. And Miami was trying to hurry and level the aggregate as quickly as possible. But it didn't work after they opened up the scoring.
Yeah, Miami had to go for it from the start in that game. And the Whitecaps knew that. And the Whitecaps are a team that like the ball. They like to dictate the play. But they knew they wouldn't get a chance to do it in that game. This game, I think it's totally different. Because I think Miami will be more methodical. They'll not be all out in the first 5 minutes to get the breakthrough. Although mean, you say this for every game, but the first goal is massive in this because if the Whitecaps get it, they are a team. I think I'd need to double check this. I'm 99% certain that when we've taken the lead this year, we've not lost.
Right.
So we have a confidence and a swagger when we get that first goal. And a lot of the time, we get a second soon after as well. And I would be surprised if that isn't the game plan. But of course, you can go in with a game plan. But when you're going up against world-class players like Miami have, sometimes that game plan can go out the window. And you could find it's Messi's the puppet master and he's pulling the strings in the first 10, 15 minutes. I think this is a great MLS Cup. It's, for me, the two best teams to go at it. If San Diego had been facing Miami, I don't think they would have had too much of a chance. Now, I'm not saying that the Whitecaps have a great chance. We've definitely got a chance. And that's all you want going into this. Miami's the favourites. I mean, Vancouver's the big underdogs going into this. That's no doubt at all. But that's what the Whitecaps like. They love that underdogs tag. And they're going to go out there. And my gut feeling is they're going to pull off the surprise win. But, I mean, will it be a surprise?
Yeah, that's the question mark, isn't it? That's the big question. So how many Vancouverites are making the long trip to South Beach outside of yourself and Har and the rest of the gang?
I've not got full numbers. In my head, it was about 1,000 because the Whitecaps have been given 3 sections. So I was basing it on, we had 300 down the last time and we had that whole section at the end of the behind the goal. So I'm thinking, they must have given us those 3 sections. But then I was thinking today, that's not necessarily the 3 sections they've given us. They could have given us 3 smaller sections. Though I would say between 500 and 1,000.
Wow. That's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn good. So you got your tickets ready. You got your passport ready. You got your airline tickets ready to go, big cross country. So what's going to happen? You go directly to Miami or goes to Toronto and then you fly south?
The flight that I booked, which I booked at halftime of the San Diego game, because I was that confident.
So the head, won't you?
Yeah. It's through Minneapolis. Okay. And then coming back's direct. So that was the flight that I booked. There might be a few tweaks along the way, but yeah, that's... Right now, that is the plan. And yeah, weather is going to be very different. It's going to be chilly here. Minneapolis is freezing. And then Florida, I believe it's going to be in Celsius, 30 degrees on Thursday, which is like crazy because it was very cold at Whitecaps training on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think by mid-flight, you'll be pulling off the winter coat and the sweatshirt. You'll be back in short sleeves in no time.
Yeah, I mean, flying back in May, mid-flight, I was putting on a fleece. It was chilly in that plane. But yeah, it should be fun. There's a lot of stuff going on, obviously, around it. It doesn't feel as much this year because of the World Cup draw. Right. I'm very curious to see who, media-wise, might just come along for the Saturday instead of making it the Thursday and the Friday. And there's the media day on Thursday. I don't know how many folks going to be there because the World Cup draws on Friday. Exactly. Don Gallagher's having a State of the League address in Washington on Thursday and not at the MLS Cup as well. Yep. So it's a bit of a different feeling, MLS Cup. Also, it's in a small stadium.
Yes,
and
it is.
There's a very good likelihood, because right now the ticket sales are over 16,000, that there's going to be more folk at the watch party at BC Place than actually at Chase Stadium watching the game.
That's unbelievable. Is there a BC Lions CFL game going on during the weekend over there or no?
No, that season's done.
Good.
All eyes on the Whitecaps. So I
go.
think they'll get over 20,000 to that one, and they're going to be on the big screens in the stadium. It's going to be a great atmosphere there. And I mean, it is a crazy situation. If you can get more at a watch party than you're going to have at the actual game. But obviously Miami's going to have the new stadium soon. Chase Stadium, I like the stadium. I think it's a really nice stadium. From my first opinions of it going down there back in May, they need a bigger stadium. But the other side of that, though, is once Messi goes, what does Miami look like?
Exactly.
And do you need a 35,000 stadium at that point?
Yep. Yeah, and they'll be down by Miami International Airport. So, I mean, either way, they're going to be – this is their last year at the Old Girl, and they're moving into the new one next season. So, it's going to be exciting for when that new stadium does show up. But, we'll have to wait and see what they'll do. So, all I can say is this is going to be a fun one. And let me ask you this real quick. When Thomas Mueller was interviewed by Jillian Sakovitz from MLS Season Pass, Apple TV, she branded this as Messi versus Mueller. But Mueller said, no, we are a team.
Mm-hmm.
This is not me versus Messi. This is us versus Messi. And you know what? He's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because while he has made the biggest change ever, not just for the club, but for the entire city, who knows who he is, and the way that, every single Vancouverite has, I won't say throw at his feet because I think that's going a little too far, but you know what I mean. They're loving this. They cannot believe they have a great man, a great player from the Bundesliga who chose to come here, came to Vancouver, and became I won't say a deity, but a rock star. I'll go there, a rock star. And it's just been one fantastic day after another that everyone in Vancouver has enjoyed this.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that the media focus so much on it being Mueller v. Messi, because it's not. And that's why I want them to do it. Because Thomas Mueller is the kind of guy that's going to be like, yeah, you put all the attention and the pressure on me, and you'll leave all these other guys just to be in their own mindset and get everything so focused going into the game. Because this is one of the things that does annoy me with the pundits that are covering Vancouver now. It's like they're all talking about, it's Mueller come in that's done all this. And it's not. They've got here from all these other players. And even in this playoff run, if you look at the contributions of Thomas Mueller, which I'm not diminishing, but it's the other players that have stepped up. And it will be probably one of the other players that steps up in the cup final. It's going to be like a Sabi or an Ahmed or a Brian White or a Ryan Gold coming off the bench that's going to be the big impact player in this game. And Thomas Mueller can get all the attention and he can get all the players' attention on the pitch. And that will just give room to these guys and they will punish them. But there's no diminishing what he's done to the club off the pitch, because he's grown the identity of it, just how he can get into different markets now with the club that the club wouldn't have got into before. And it is a superstar battle. MLS will be rubbing their hands at that. But for me, don't be surprised if you're talking about like Ryan Gold after the game or Allende for Miami after the game, and Mueller and Messi are just hardly mentioned after the match.
Exactly. That's what I want to see. I really want to see that. I want to see everyone else be talked about. Not just what Mueller will do, not just what Messi will do, but everyone else that's going to be doing the same thing that those two will do. Make an impact in the final. It's going to be exciting. All I can tell you is this, Michael. Just give me a shout when you get down here. Let me know. We'll meet up. Hopefully we'll watch the draw together, and we'll have a lot of fun.
I will definitely be in touch with you, Daniel.
All right. Thanks again, Michael, and good luck and safe flight down here, okay?
Pleasure as always, Daniel.
All right. Thank you very much. Michael McColl away from the numbers over in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, as the Whitecaps, they defeat once again San Diego FC away 3-1. It will be Miami versus Vancouver, Chase Stadium, this coming Saturday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Pacific at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait. You're going to watch it either on MLS Season Pass through Apple TV, or Fox Sports will have the game linear television as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank my guests tonight. Once again, I want to thank Pieter Brown, recording with me from Futbol Miami TV, and of course, just now, Michael McColl from Away from the Numbers. Join me tomorrow night. We're going to review the USL Championship Final between the FC Tulsa and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Going to be exciting, a lot of fun. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. Please, once again, subscribe to this show for your American soccer content. And as always, please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Take care. So long. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.